Hello and welcome. In this video, we're going to focus on the powers of I and how they work a little bit differently than our normal powers. Well, I is the square root of -1 by definition. So I squared would be the square root of -1 squared. Or, because my square and square root cancel, just -1. If I were to take that I and cube it, or raise it to the third power, that's the same thing as saying I squared times I, which is -1 times I, because I squared is -1, or just -I. Then I raise that to one more power, so I to the fourth. Well, that's the same thing as I squared times I squared, which is -1 times -1, or just +1. And those are my four powers for I, because if I take I and raise it to the fifth power, well, that's the same thing as saying I cubed times I squared, because remember, when we times powers, I add them. That's -I times -1, or just +I. So the cycle starts over. And I always refer to it as a cycle. So we have I, which is the square root of -1. And if I increase that power to I squared, we said that was -1. Increase that power to I cubed. Well, that's -I. And then we increase it one more time to I to the fourth, which is +1, and then it starts over. So this is the graphic that I like to use, just because it helps me remember that I have four options. Let's go ahead and look at an example on how we deal with a large power. Here we want to find I to the 43rd and simplify it. Well, to do this, I'm going to take my power of 43 and divide it by 4. Now, the reason why I chose 4 involves my cycle, because on the cycle, I have I squared, I cubed, and I to the fourth. And then my cycle started over. So I have four options. That's why I chose 4. Because the whole goal is to see where on my cycle this power of 43 falls. Now, when you do this division of 43 over 4, you get 10 and 3/4, which is the same thing as 10.75. That 10 represents how many times I go around my cycle completely. That 3/4 represents 3/4 of a revolution on my cycle. That 3 is the important number. So I need to take it, and it becomes my new power. So I take the 3 and replace my power with it. Well, I to the third, or I cubed, is -I. So I to the 43rd is the same thing as -I. You can do this with any power. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope you have a wonderful day.